Hey, Justin here with another Leap to the Past. It's been a little while since I hit you with one of these. Sorry for the delay. I got one that I'm trying to record, but I actually need somebody to be sitting right about here with me for that, and we gotta coordinate that. But right now, I want to talk about the play that I did in LA. This is a play called The Elaborate Entrance of Chad Deity. It was a pro wrestling based play. It ran in, I think, late summer 2011 at the Geffen Playhouse in Los Angeles, one of the big playhouses in LA, which is, of course, more of a film community, but there is a theater community there as well. But this was my first real play. But people were coming to me when it was being cast, and they were saying, "Hey, they're looking for wrestlers." And at the time, I was not feeling very in shape, so I said, "It's not this. I don't look like a wrestler. I never really was that big for a wrestler, and even now, I'm smaller than I've really ever been." They're like, "No, go anyway." So okay, I'll go. I go to the Geffen. They were actually auditioning right there, and I go in and I meet the casting director and the assistant stunt coordinator, and talk to them a little bit. And they have a little mat set up, not even like a tumbling mat. I think it was more like something you would almost cover a floor so it doesn't get paint on it or something. That kind of mat, almost like a tarp, thicker quilted tarp. But Ned, the assistant stunt coordinator, was like, "Yeah, well, we're looking for you to blah." And he was trying to show me some stuff, and I was like, "Why don't I show you what I do or did as a wrestler?" I said there are three types of bumps, falls that we took, and it was, it's a flip bump, it's a back bump, and it's a face bump. So I did those, and he was like, "Oh," and the stunt, casting director they were both kind of blown away by it, and they're like, all right." And pretty much I got the job before leaving that room. I think they were looking for one guy to do kind of be the jobber wrestler, the guy who kind of loses to the main characters, even though they're really only, I think there were 6 cast members in the whole thing. But it was me, and it was Tim, who's a wrestler from Texas, who was living in LA. We both got cast, and then we kind of split up these parts. And it was, let's say a month or two of rehearsals and read-throughs and stuff. We didn't have a lot of lines, so ours was more blocking and choreography, and we were both kind of new to theater at the time. This was an Actors Equity show, which Actors Equity is like the Screen Actors Guild for theater, the union. And I think they took my union dues out of my paycheck, but I was still making I was making livable money doing this, which is good because I was there basically every day, almost, I think, 6-7 days a week. This is over by UCLA campus, so it's kind of neat area. There's an Equinox gym there, like a fancy ass gym. They gave us membership to that, so I was at the gym 6 days a week, trying to get build up. But I think I was. Here's this thing I do: I overtrain and I undereat. But weirdly, that's when I feel like I look my best. Which they gave me these tights that were really tight. So I really kind of felt like I had to almost, instead of putting on size, just kind of lean out to not look embarrassing in these tights. But yeah, I had a match with Terrence Archie, who played Chad Deity, kind of like a rock, kind of a character based on The Rock. The writer Chris, I'm sorry, but Christopher Diaz was the writer, and he was a big wrestling fan. He and I got to talk a little bit, and I think he had actually, I was just getting off interviewing for a WWE job, which I didn't get. I think he was in the running for that and either turned it down or didn't get it also. So we had that in common. They brought in a couple people who were involved in either the Chicago or the New York. So when it started in Chicago, went to New York, and then was then in LA. And it kind of, I think, retained the same main character, Desmond Borges, and Chad Deity, Terrence Archie, I think, was picked up in New York. And yeah, there was another character, Mace, who was like a skinny Pakistani character, and I think he was there through Chicago. And Dez was on You're the Worst on FX, which was a great show that I started watching for his benefit. So that was cool. Steve Valentine, who is a magician and was on some big shows and did a big guest. He was like he had a big role in Dragon Age, the RPG. He was the voiceover for that, one of the main big characters in that. He played like a Vince McMahon, slightly sleazy character, but he was British, so he kind of brought that into it. But I had a match every show. I would pretty much the only full match. Chad Deity would come into the ring. I would kind of jump him. We'd have about a 2-minute match. It would end in a power bomb. Power bomb is where he kind of bends me over, picks me up, so I'm almost sitting on his shoulders, facing this way, and he brings me down. So I'm going from his shoulders, bam, onto my back, and then he pins me. And in our match 2, we had a back body drop, which I'm running towards him. He ducks and kind of flips me over him, and I go from like here. This is Chad Deity. This is me. Whoa, and I land flat on my back like that. And we kept going, so I would get higher and higher in the power bomb. Kind of, as we got to know each other and doing this, I think eight times a week I would have this match. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, twice on Friday, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday, and we have Monday off, I think. So we have Monday off, but we did it twice each weekend day, so it was eight shows a week for I think 6 weeks. And I got to the point where I was hurting all the time. I mean, no matter how much I spent in the sauna or steam room at Equinox, I was still really sore. I used to get echinacea or BioFreeze, Max Freeze, and kind of rub that on all my sore spots to try and numb that thing. And I remember Christopher Daniels, famous pro wrestler, came to the show one time, and I got to talk to him a little bit after the show, and we had a good conversation. I was like, Chris, are you hurt all the time? And he was like, yeah, I am. I said, okay, good, because now I don't feel so weird, because like nobody else was taking the amount of bumps that I was taking and maybe putting as much into them as I was. So the other guys in the cast were not in pain like I was, but him being in pain, that was cool. So our premiere, I find out Betty White is in the audience in the maybe 3rd row aisle. So after intermission, I come in, I make my entrance, and I'm healing on the crowd, and Betty White's there, and I go up to her and I go ahead, you can touch. And she reaches her hand out, and I go, you're not touching nothing. So I kind of heal on Betty White, who's like a beloved, Hollywood actress, comedian, like everybody's sweet old granny, great aunt type. And I got to heal on her, and she giggled. She was into it. Another time, Mick Foley came to the show, and I got to talk to him afterwards. And Mick Foley is such a kind guy, such a nice guy. I had healed on him during my entrance too, because I knew that he was going to be there, and he kind of gave me the Foley thumbs up, which I really appreciated, and had a really good conversation with him. And I had read all his books. I mean, I'm a former pro wrestler, big wrestling fan, and of course he's so iconic that it was great to actually get to meet him. And he went there with Barry Blaustein. Sorry if I got that name wrong, but the guy who directed Beyond the Mat, which was such an influential piece of wrestling-related cinema as a documentary. Let's see. So yeah, it was. I got to do a little bit of improv. Now theater is not really improvised. We pretty much do the same show every night, which is nice because then you can kind of tweak things. But when I made my entrance as the bad guy, I went up to the ring, got in the corner, hit my mark. The lights went on. It's a really cool set. I don't know how I can post a picture to YouTube, but anyway, it was a really cool set, and I would get up and I would kind of strike a pose and then say something, and I got to improvise that line every time. And I would say, like, I had flames on my pants. I would say, I'm so hot my pants are on fire. Or like it was for a title match. I said, my first act as the wrestling champion is to banish Obamacare. I would just say random shit just to kind of pop myself or pop the other guys in the cast or the crew or whatever. But the elaborate entrance of Chad Deity was such a great production, such a great experience for me as a performer, and an introduction to theater. I did theater once here in Tokyo, which maybe I'll talk about. I was such a small part of that, though. That was a cast of 100, and you know, a big difference, definitely. But I'm at the 10-minute mark here, so I'm going to leave you. I'm going to go to the gym. Again, I apologize for the delay. Hopefully I'll get my guest here pretty soon so we can get that one up and see how that works as a team dynamic telling the story. Thank you for watching. Please give me a thumbs up if you liked it, and stay tuned for more. I've been Justin Leeper. Thank you for leaping with me to the past.